Yes, the Sunderland, first built in 1937, I believe, and there were various marks. They'd got up to Mark III with the Bristol Pegasus engines. But all our engines were 5 years old, and we were lucky to get back with 4 still going well. But they sent a crew back late on in our time there. That would be about April 45, and they were given a Mark V. They skipped the Mark IV, very few were made. The Mark V had Pratt & Whitney engines, and they were being used, of course, by the boys who were doing the tough job around UK, out in the Atlantic, Bay of Biscay, the bad areas. We had a peach of a job down on the coast, so we were stuck with the Mark III. But we knew this Mark V was coming. I forgot the name of the skipper, Salt I think it was. Anyway, we were all out for the arrival of this Mark V, and the cheeky beggar beat up our spot at WWII with 2 engines feathered on 1 wing. Anyway, we gave them hell. Anyway, we carried on with our Mark IIIs. Our job, of course, was, with the help of the Navy, we were virtually under the Navy, in the search for U-boats. Things had quietened down quite a lot. I didn't get out there until February 45, thanks to my old man, of course. I was very late. But our patrols, our regular job for 94, for our 490, the RAF had another area. We did a day's search up to Bathurst in Gambia, stayed there overnight, and the next day a reverse search back to Freetown. We were stationed 26 miles up the River Bunce from Freetown itself, and our spot was called WWII. We were down among the mangroves. The aircraft had to be on the river, of course, and WWII was the shortened form of a native name which meant Swamp of Death. Welcome to WWII. Malaria. Malaria was rife. I remember that we had 7 pills to take every lunch hour, if I can remember. 2 ascorbic, like the vitamin C style, because most of our meat, of course, was tinned and we didn't get fresh vegetables that much, that sort of thing. 2 salt tablets, because it was pretty warm. We were 7 degrees north of the equator. It was very hot. 2 others.
Ataperin?
No. Ours was called Mepicrin. We only had 1 of those, but there's another 2 missing there somewhere. Anyway, I know there were 7 every lunch. So this was our regular job, and I have to disappoint you, I never saw a U-boat. Things were quietening down, and by that time, of course, the Jerry was on the run. and so I guess that the U-boat pens at Brest on the French coast were probably not very efficient anymore. But we did have sightings. The Navy did their sightings, of course, with their ASDIC and so on, but we never saw, and certainly weren't able to attack a U-boat. So we went on with this rather dull job. Every now and then the Navy required us to do something different. One occasion we were in Bathurst and ready to fly back to Freetown the following day, but the Navy required us to move north because a U-boat or two was moving north according to what they had discovered. So we went north and into Dakar in Senegal, a Free French establishment, spent the night there. I remember the very strong cheese that was passed around the dinner table. It would be impolite to say no thank you, but I saw this green mouldy thing coming along and got some down by breathing out heavily at the same time. A bit of fun. Because I had a little bit of French, when we were wandering around Dakar with my crew, we were looking for a drink and decided at one stage to have a coffee. So, Stan, you order it. So in we go. I order a cafe. It should have been a cafe au lait. No, I ordered a cafe, didn't I? You know, that size, black. Anyway, bit of fun, but the Navy still required us to go even further north. We'd never done that before. And we finished up at a place called Port Etienne, which I'll never forget. It was simply a wide bay on the edge of the Sahara in Mauritania, just south of Morocco. All there was there was a tiny RAF outpost, a French Foreign Legion establishment, and an Arab camp, and a desalination plant, a big hangar style, no water, and so the seawater had to be desalinated by this machinery. And we spent one night there. Fortunately, they didn't ask us to go any further north, and we found our way back to Freetown. The only other occasion I remember, it was an unusual trip. The Navy thought there were submarines moving through, well out from the coast, between the coast and Ascension Island, which sits quite a way out west. So they did what they call a box search. It was a long rectangle divided into three to cover this possible area these U-boats might go through. The outer third of that box was covered by liberators from the Azores, islands further up. We did the centre of the box, and the Wellington's land-based aircraft Not sure where they came from, but they did the coastal area. I know on that occasion, Johnny Greer, our navigator, was nearly driven mad, because right through that box that we had to cover went the equator, and every time we crossed, we were going like so. Every time we crossed the equator, the whatever it was, the digression, the deviance had to be added to the compass reading, changed from positive to negative, and so on, every time we went backwards and forwards over the equator. He'd had enough by the end of that day, and none of us volunteered to help him. Finally, it came the end of the war, of course, May the 8th. We celebrated for a couple of days, but then our war wasn't over, because we had the job of finding the whereabouts of every U-boat. They had drifted all over the place, and until every U-boat was accounted for, we still had to do our patrolling. We did 20 extra days. May washout day for us was May the 28th. We expected, of course, to be flying back to UK. The ground crew, who were mainly English, British, were working hard to bring every aircraft up to better than scratch. We were lucky, our crew was the next to do what we call coastal familiarisation, a sort of a little holiday trip. That would be to fly up or down the coast and go into places that we hadn't visited before. On this one, I remember going into Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, which was French, of course. And in Abidjan, their top city, I remember I have a photo of their war memorial, a pillar, and the information. The war was over. This, of course, was under Vichy French. The Vichy Parliament was set up after the Germans took over France, and for Vichy, the war was over. They weren't worried about Britain at all. So there was this pillar with the war 1939 to 1940. And they'd scratched some, but the Free French had taken over, and someone had tried to hide the 0, and they were waiting to put in the 5. A bit unusual. We went to a victory ball there, and the bit of French that I heard was tout à l'heure, later, later. Story being, lots of young ladies there we might have had a dance with, but each one had a guardian, mother or aunt or whatever, and the French hated the Brits. No doubt about it. And these ladies were the ones who looked on us as British, and later. We soon got the message and left early. So we're waiting for the instruction to fly back to UK. Instead we got something a bit different. UK, of course, by now was an absolute rubbish heap. You can imagine all the tanks and cars, planes, whatever, finished with, all around UK. And so when we thought about it, it made sense. The instruction from London was sink all Mark IIIs. These were all old aircraft and they didn't want them back in UK. The Mark V, of course, they got lucky. They flew back. The rest of us, they cleaned out the aircraft of anything useful. We were issued with axes, and the skeleton crew went with the aircraft, being towed out by our marine section launches, or one launch. 7 miles, I understood it was, out from the coast, beyond the continental shelf, to sink them in deep water. And out there we got to work with our axes on the hull, and I have 3 photos of my old aircraft going down. The last one just with the tail sticking out of the water. Sad day. Then we closed down WWII, and the officers were sent up, fortunately, into the hills. Sierra Leone means Lion Mountain, and it's one of the parts of the coast which has considerable mountains. And up there was an army camp, much cooler than WWII had been, and we sat around waiting for a boat to take us back to UK. Boats were coming back from South Africa, bringing back to UK the people who had left UK and gone to South Africa to get away from the war. We were waiting there for weeks when suddenly we got the offer of 3 seats on the plane, the DC-3, of the officer commanding West Africa Army. He got himself back to UK some other way, apparently, and this aircraft was flying back to Hendon. There were about 30 of us, the officers, waiting to get out, and for these 3 seats we cut the cards, and for once in my life I was lucky. The other 2, Louis Williams with the red hair and Errol Taylor, and the 3 of us flew with the DC-3 back through Agadir, a night and day in Gibraltar, and back to Hendon. We were flown by Flight Lieutenant, forgotten his surname, a VC. After 2 tours of bombers, he got into Transport Command, and I remember his style of landing and takeoff. Pretty rough into Morocco, and Gibraltar was even worse. Landing at Gibraltar, you come in over the sea and you are right alongside that rock, and it's a short runway, and we bumped along it. We were very relieved to get to Hendon in one piece, but that was back home. Waited around and had good leave, visiting family, etc. until we finally we were sent down to Southampton, where the Andes, a new ship built for the South American tourist trade, being converted to a suitable for carrying troops who were going to come. And there I got into conversation with two old friends from Mount Albert. Graham Turner, who passed away about a month ago, Graham Harvey Turner, DFC. He had finished up. They were two who filled in application forms in 1940, same time as me. And he and Johnny Furness had parents who happily signed their sheets. So they got away best part of 2 years ahead of me. Johnny had finished up on, was in a torpedo squadron. New Zealand, 487 I think. Would that be right? 487?
489.
489. One of the 789 and so on,
Right,
along with 490,
yeah.
all New Zealand squadrons.
485 was a New Zealand squadron too.
Yes, he flew something else earlier.
Hamptons,
Hampton maybe, but they moved into something like the...
Mosquito.
he finished up on the Mosquito, yeah,
Before
but something before that. Anyway, here we are finally on the Andes in Southampton, sailing down the Solent, lovely day, on our way home. I'm with Graham and John. Everybody's up on deck, no point in being below. As we go down, 3 Sunderlands came, and they appear not to be going much faster than the boat itself. That's the impression one gets. These 3 Sunderlands. We knew where they were from. A well-known Aussie squadron, number 10, were based on the Solent. And the Andes was full of New Zealand and Australian Air Force. So the men flying the Sunderlands knew that their mates, the lucky ones, were on the boat going home. I'm standing with these 2 old friends of mine. How fast does it go? Are they going, Stan? I said, oh, about 130 knots, something like that. So here's the Lancaster man and the Mosquito man, you know. On we went. Suddenly there's a kerfuffle up in the bow. All the decks were covered with, we were chocker. And here these Sunderlands went down the Solent, did a U-E, and they're coming straight at the boat, and they're on the water. Straight at the boat. The middle one went like that, and everybody ducked. We thought it was going to take the funnel. The other 2 flew away. It was marvellous. So I stood about a foot taller and said, well, that's what we do in Sunderland. Okay, we got home, okay. Oh, we broke the record going through Suez Canal. I have the front page of a Melbourne paper. Andy's breaks record from Southampton to Melbourne, 21 days. Okay, a day in Melbourne, back onto the boat. When we got going for New Zealand, there was something funny about the engines. That's not the same, is it? Inquiries were made. We were slowing down because we were going to arrive in New Zealand in Labour weekend. That was going to cost some money. We took 5 days to get from Melbourne to Littleton. We had the reception centre, Minister of Defence, whoever it was at those days, arrived. They'd given us, very foolishly, boiled eggs for breakfast. Quite a few of those were saved up. Hurled down onto the wharf, and somebody had got a banner. Welcome home, boys, but don't come Saturdays or public holidays. Anyway, finally we got home okay. Sorry about all that.